The books that I've written is based on what I call the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept. Now, that means that you compensate for what you don't know by learning what you should know, and then you try to codify everything that you learn so that every time you say something or do something, you get the most constructive result. That's the basis for the concept. So, in the last 48 hours, I have tried to come up with, since everything is based on questions and answers, so that you can find out whether or not you can get a result that's going to be constructive and not non-constructive, then I tried to come up with a codified question. See, because if you ask the correct questions, presumably you'll get the correct answers, and then you can get the correct result when you act on the basis of the answers that you got by having raised the correct question. So I'm saying the supreme question about race and sex, because that's what my book basically is about. It's about race and racism in the form of white supremacy. So when you put in a sexual element there, and I say the race problem is the greatest problem that we have on the planet. So you can't straighten out anything dealing with sex unless you solve the problem of race. That's the presumption anyway, according to what I have written in the textbook for victims of white supremacy. So I'm saying the supreme question about sex and race, and I even put a question mark behind that on account of I added the word supreme. Is this the supreme question? See, if you're going to solve a problem, you go to the supreme question. So you go to the supreme question about race and sex, because that's eventually what you're going to have to consider. You're going to have to consider how race figures into all of this gay rights movement, as it is called, since racism is still the greatest motivating force among the people of the planet. You can't rule out the element of race. So the supreme question about race and sex. So I tried to formulate one this morning because I'm supposed to be in the business of codifying things. So you go right to the heart of anything that comes up and do it instantly. Do it as quickly as possible. Go right to the heart rather than keep dancing around. So I formulated a very long question here. And that question so far is as follows. Is the so-called gay rights movement a major part of the hope for change that will best help result in the final replacement of the system of white supremacy with the system of truth, justice, and correctness between and among the people of the known universe? In other words, is the so-called gay rights movement a major part of the hope for change that people have been looking for and working for, they say, in replacing the system of racism with the system of justice? Can the gay rights movement do this? Or, and this is a big or, is it another cleverly designed part of the white supremacist conspiracy to continue producing greater confusion, pitiful behavior, and monstrous destruction between and among the non-white people of the known universe? And this should be the question, in my opinion, that should be asked in all of this discussion. Should be the central question that non-white people, black people, who seem to be in a quandary, who seem to be kind of running around in circles on this matter, and some of them, many black people who are just kind of in a querulous mood of not saying anything about it at all, one way or another.
Appear to be baffled.
Yes, baffled by the whole thing. What is this all about? I mean, I need a job. I mean, you know, when did this become a priority? You know, I need a roof over my head. I mean, my daughter's being shot down in the streets when she goes to school and whatnot.
When did this
become the most monumental, earth-shaking,
wow,
a priority among the people of this universe. I mean, how did it get there so fast? I mean, the Supreme Court, so I've heard, is some of the people on the Supreme Court have said, how did this get dropped in our laps all of a sudden? With all the things that are going on, we have to consider. And some people, I suppose, in the gay rights movement says, hey, this is the panacea. If you get on board with this, all of those other problems you're trying to solve will fall apart. The gay rights movement will solve the problems of everybody talking about anything, because that's what's holding everything up.